I'm going to go a few examples to help you guys out. Now, here's the deal, guys. If you know how to do Xbox and you know how to do GCS, that kind of factoring, you should be able to get through any of these. If you don't know how to do that, or don't know how to do Xbox, or maybe you're just not that good with it, that's what you need practice on. And I encourage you to come to my room, either at lunch or whenever I'm available, and I will just work on that with you. Xbox. Because a lot of the stuff we're going to be doing the next few weeks, that's what you need to know how to do. Okay? So when I go over these, I'm not going to go into every detail about how to do Xbox, because I kind of expect a lot of you guys to know how to do that, but if you don't, that's a one-on-one time that we need. All right? Now, when you start these problems, there's something called an excluded value. Remember, these are fractions, right? And with fractions, or rationals, here's something I can't have. What's wrong with that fraction? What do we call that? Something over 0. Because this is okay. I can have 0 over something, like 0 over 2, but what's wrong with 1 over 0? Or 2 over 0, or 3 over 0?
0
It cannot. What do we call that when 0 is in the denominator? We write this symbol sometimes. No, it's undefined. Okay, well you gotta speak up, Marvin. You're trying to say it quietly to your friends over there. All right, so if you see 0 under the line, that means it's undefined. All right, so we want to account for that. Now, eventually we're going to get to solving equations. And when you solve an equation, if you solve it and you end up with one of these numbers that we're about to talk about, that means it's not a solution. Okay? So the way you find we're going to call excluded values is I need to figure out what's going to make that equal 0. So for instance, guys, if I have n minus 4 and I ask you what's the solution, what's the answer? Khalil, you keep on bringing up your phone like 3 times in the time that I sit here and talk. You choose, Saeed. Okay? If I bring up n minus 4 and I ask you what's the solution, what would you say the answer is? n equals what? 4. Okay? Because it's the opposite sign, right? What if I said 2x plus 1 equals 0? What's the solution to that?
1 over 2.
Negative 1 over 2, right? So that's how you figured out the excluded values, okay? So for 3n minus 4, what would make that equal 0? Just for 3n minus 4. Huh? 4 over 3. So that we're going to consider an excluded value, okay? What about for actually, I'm going to switch this around, 2m plus 1. I'm going to switch it and make it 2m plus 1, because that is the same thing.
1 over 2.
1 over 2. It's not just 1 over 2, it's negative 1 over 2. Okay? What you do to find the excluded value is you look at the numbers on the bottom, and that's going to tell you, because if I plug that number into this, it's going to make the bottom equal 0. Okay? All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to cancel out the like factor. So what can I cancel out here? What cancels out? 2m plus 1. Okay, how about these two? Do those cancel out? No. Okay, so then I'm just going to rewrite this. What's in my numerator? 5 plus 7m. I could rewrite that as 7m plus 5, but I'm just going to copy whatever's up there. And then down here, 3m minus 4. Okay? Just make sure you do the like factors. Okay? All right, now, when you see division, and I'm talking about a fraction, what do you do with division when you have fractions? Go ahead. Flip what? Which one though? Right, the second. So I flip the second, 3 over 1 now, and then what happens to the sign? It becomes multiplication. The same thing's going to happen with these. Okay, so now, because again, a fraction is just like a rational. So I'm going to rewrite this as 2x. This one's not going to change. This one stays the same. This one will flip, so now I have 2x squared plus 9x plus 4, and then x squared minus x minus 6. And then in the middle, this becomes multiplication. okay? Now, again, I need to be able to cancel out, so what do I need to do to all these numerators and denominators? Gotta factor. Okay, let's start with the top left. What kind of factoring am I gonna do with 2x squared plus 10x? GCF. Why, how do you know? What's the key to knowing that? How do you know you're gonna do GCF here but not here? Right, because it's two terms, right? And they both have something in common. Alright, so when I factor that, now what you guys could do is you guys could do the 1 by 2 box like that. Again, I'm not gonna set that up here just because I don't wanna go through every single little step on Fast Friday. Alright, so what is the common factor between 2x squared and 10x? 2x. Okay, so what then would go inside? X plus 5, okay. Now I'm also gonna have to factor out the rest here. That means you're gonna have to do the X box 3 times. Hence why on the ones in the middle, I told you to cross out problem 1117, letter D. So problem 1117, letter D. Just cross out the problem. Don't cross out the whole thing because I want you to have all that space for the letter C. Okay. All right. So now what I'm going to do is normally I would do X box with all of these, right? I do X in box here. I do X in box here. I do X in box over here. But I've done these enough to where like I don't really need the box. Just because I can kind of see it. I know that this first term is 2x and x. I have to multiply to get 3, so I'm just going to put 3 and 1 there. These two would be 6, so that means that'd be that negative and that positive. Okay, and again, you guys just do the X box. If you don't feel like you gotta understand how I did that. Okay, all right, that one's 2x squared, so 2x, x. That's a 4, so I probably need 4 here and 1 there, because that's gonna be 8 plus 1 is 9. Okay, then they're both plus. Okay, now this one you guys can do without the box. What number multiplies the negative 6 but then adds up to negative 1? Multiplies the negative 6, adds up to negative 1. Okay, what are the signs on those numbers? Negative 3 plus 2. Okay. Alright, so now we're down on this step. What cancels out? Okay. Anything else? These? They don't. Why? Right, they're both in the same, they're both in the denominator. Remember, one has to be above, one has to be below. So those actually do not cancel out. So is there anything else? No. Nope. So that would be the only factor. Now when you guys do the problem that's like that one, I think it's letter C, you will cancel out more factors. Alright? So that's what I'm left with on top, and also what? What else is in the numerator? X plus 4. Make sure I'm on the, okay, we got it. Alright, and then the bottom. Now I have 2x minus 3. How could I write that so I don't have to write it twice? Right, x minus 3 squared. Okay, and then x plus 2. Okay? And leave it factored. You guys don't need to multiply that out. I actually prefer you to keep it factored, okay? Okay, now, excluded values. Now, in this step right here, before I actually cancel, that's where my excluded values are going to come from. So when I first factor, okay, on the bottom here, I had 2x plus 1. What's the excluded value from 2x plus 1? Negative 1 over 2. How from x minus 3? 3. Okay, now, when I started the problem, this 2x squared plus 9x plus 4, that's what was on the bottom, and that's where my excluded values are going to come from, not from this x minus 3 and x plus 2. So technically, when I factored this, I got 2x plus 1 and x plus 4. That means I already have that one, I already have negative 1 over 2, but I also need to add in negative 4. Okay, and again, my excluded values just come from the expressions on the bottom, not the ones that are on the top. That's why I went back to this one, because when we got to this step, we flipped it and ended up on top. So I have to go back and check that one. Okay, but again, the main thing, and again, if you're not totally on the excluded values, okay, we'll get there. The main thing I want you to know how to do is how to factor. Make sure you flip the second one and know what to cancel. Okay?
Can we get the excluded values before we cancel?
I mean, you can cancel and then go back and look, but yes, you're not looking here for the excluded value, you're looking here. Okay? Alright, so now here, first step, what are we doing here? Okay, actually, let's do excluded value first. I got one single term of 8 times x over here. What excluded value comes from 8 times x? What do you guys think? 8 times what number gives us 0? 8 times what? 0. Okay, how about from here? Negative 4 over 3. How about from 4 times x squared? 0 again. Okay, how about from here? Negative 3. So I got 2 zeros, so I don't have to repeat that. Negative 4 over 3 and negative 3. Okay? Alright, so now, since I got division, what do I got to do with the second one? What do I got to do with this guy here? Flip it. So I got 4x squared there. Now notice this is already factored out, so I don't really have to do any factoring on this one. This is a lot like the one on the bottom left. That's not paying attention. Okay, you tell me you're going to do better. That's not doing better. So show me. Don't just talk. Okay? Alright. So now, what's the sign here? Multiplication. Now here's the deal. The difference between those ones over there and this one is that I've got these single numbers or single terms on the outside. I need to see if I can factor those. So going back to what we did on the first day with this, what numbers multiply to give you 4? 2 times 2. And then for x squared, it's what times what? X times x. Okay? So I'm just going to write that there. I'm not going to write a whole separate line. Okay? How about 8? What are the factors there? Right, 3 2s. Okay, remember we did birthday cake? Figured out all those different factors, then times x. Alright, so now let's start with that. The 2 2 2s and the x's. Which ones cancel out? Or how many? 2 2s. How about the x? And just 1x. Okay, how about the factors, the other factors?
X minus 2.
Okay, we got x minus 2, anything else?
3, x plus 3.
X plus 3. Okay? Now, remember, we already factored this, so I'm not going to be looking at that one. I'm just looking at right here, what I have left. So now, on the top, what do I have left on the top? Just x. Just that one little x right there. Okay? What do I have on the bottom?
2.
I got a 2. What else?
3x plus 4.
And 3x plus 4. That one there. Now, let's just say that the x did cancel out. And I don't have this anymore. What do you still have there?
1.
A 1. Yeah. Okay, so because technically that is 1x. Okay, so you would still have a 1 there. Alright, so that's what most of those problems are going to be like. Is you just need to factor them out and then figure out what's the same. So once you figure out what's the same, then you just cross them out.
Does the answer always have to be a fraction?
Sometimes you'll end up with one number. If you end up with one number on the top, like 2, that's your answer. Alright? Okay, rest of the time, I want you guys to work on that first page. So if you don't have your packet out already, let's get to it. Also, I recorded this, so you guys can go back and look.